Welcome you for the second session of Module 3 of Economics and Management. This PPT has been prepared by referring many sources and it is exclusively used for the purpose of education and not for any financial gains. In this session, we will discuss about various aspects of micro and macroeconomics, supply and demand curves, laws of supply and demand elasticity, factors affecting supply and demand, as well as laws of returns. First, we shall start the session by discussing about micro and macroeconomics. Normally, economics is divided into various categories, mainly microeconomics and macroeconomics. Microeconomics, as the name itself suggests, it is the study of the individuals, business decisions, micro at a small level. That's why it is restricted to small businesses and individual income earnings. When it comes to macroeconomics, the decision is seen from a broader perspective. That's why the name we use the name macro. It is done at a higher level, like covering the entire country or the entire government or a cluster of companies. That is the difference between microeconomics and macroeconomics. Here we can see the clear-cut difference. Microeconomics deals with individual markets, effects on the price of a good, individual labor market, individual consumer behavior, supply of good. We can see here everything is restricted at a smaller level, not at a very large level. Whereas when it comes to macroeconomics, we can see that the entire economy, GDP, will come into picture, whereas GDP is not a factor of microeconomics. Gross domestic product is the factor of a macroeconomics. Inflation, which was never seen in microeconomics, has been included under macroeconomics, because inflation affects the entire nation, it affects the entire country's economic policies. Employment and unemployment, it is not the factor of just one company, it is the factor that affects the entire nation. Aggregate demand is the total demand that the country produces, for maybe for an agricultural produce or an industrial produce, or it could be anything. So productive capacity economy, it is the economy that encompasses the productive capacity of the nation's economy. That's in that way micro and macro are clearly differentiated. To put it in a layman's language, micro at a smaller level restricted to individual and a small and a company, whereas macro much larger perspective, a cluster of companies, a state or nation, that is macroeconomics. Now we will discuss about law of supply and demand. When there is a decrease in the price of product, the demand for the product increases and its supply decreases. It's a common sense. It's a common sense that whenever the price of a product decreases, normally we tend to buy more. When we tend to buy more, it's an indication that the demand for the product is increasing. And as the demand of the product increases, normally the person who has produced that may find shortage of the supply, or else he may hold back hoping for higher demand of the product. These two things happen, but irrespective of any of these two things, the supply will decrease. Maybe there is a supply shortage, or the supplier is holding back his product without releasing it to market. Lowering the price of the product makes producers to stop from releasing more quantities of the product in the market. That's what we just discussed now. That's why the supply of the product will decrease. The point of intersection of supply curve and demand curve is known as the equilibrium. This is how the demand and supply is done. When there is a decrease in the price of the product, demand of the product increases and supply decreases. Whereas if there is increase in the demand, increase in the price, then what will happen? As the price increases, the supply will increase, because the persons who have produced that product will tend to push more to the market, so that they can get maximum benefit out of their produce. As a result, what will happen? As the price increases, supply will increase, whereas as the price increases, demand will decrease. So this is the demand and supply curve. So they strike a balance. That point is called as equilibrium point, where demand is just equal to that of supply. And here in this curve we can very clearly see that as the price increases from $1,700 to say $2,000, what happened to the quantity? Okay, and you can see here the demand. This is the demand. Let us analyze the demand curve first. This is the quantity. This was being demanded when the price was 1,700. When the price increased to 2,000, what happened to demand? Demand just got reduced. Why? Quite common sense, because as the price is increasing, I do not want to purchase more. I will wait for the price to reduce. But let us analyze the supply curve. See now, at 1,500, let me erase everything. Okay. Now let us analyze the supply curve. At $1,700, look at the supply. This was the supply. As the price increased to 1,200, look at the supply. It comes over here and see, this is the supply. That means the quantity will increase, the supply will increase as the price increases, whereas the demand will decrease as the price increases. This is the main thing that we need to understand in demand and supply curve. This is the law of supply and demand, and the entire nation's economy is exclusively dependent on supply and demand. Many players will come into picture while deciding about the supply and demand, which we are going to discuss in next slides. But it is sufficient to say that as the price increases, demand will decrease. As the price increases, supply will increase. Now we will discuss about the elasticity of demand. What is elasticity of demand? It is the measure of susceptibility of demand due to the variation in the price of commodity. In other words, to what extent demand is affected due to the variation of price of the commodity, or it is the rate at which the demand of a product changes due to the change in its price. It is defined as the ratio of percentage change in demand for a product to the percentage change in its price. It is given by this one. EP is equal to percentage change in demand divided by percentage change in price. There are three conditions. First condition, EP is greater than 1, which means percentage change in demand is more than the percentage change in price. For a small change in price, there could be large increase in the demand. One classic example I can tell you is that of gold. Even if there is a small decrease in the price of gold, demand will increase at a higher percentage, at a higher rate, because people tend to buy more gold thinking that the price may increase in future days. That's why let me have more gold as of now. That's why they do not wait normally. They do not think that it will still go further. they tend to purchase more gold even if there is small change in the price of the demand, small decrease in the price of the demand, price of the gold, I mean to say. The second condition is that EP is less than 1. The demand for a product is said to be inelastic. That means even there is a large change in the price, the variation in demand is very, very less. See, for example, what I can tell you, the price of say clothes, or price of say furnitures, so price of say footwear. Do we tend to purchase furnitures or footwear just for the reason the price has come down? No, normally no. Even if they slash the price by 5,000, 10,000, 20,000, the tendency to purchase a furniture, if we already have a furniture, a set of furniture, is very, very less. In that case, the demand will not change in line with the change in the price. That's why it is called as inelastic. Whereas in case of gold, the demand will change at a higher rate when compared to change in the price. That's why it is normally termed as highly elastic. The third condition is EP is equal to 1, which means the demand for a product is said to be unit elasticity. In other words, price change will lead to almost equal changes in the demand. Normally vegetables follow this kind of pattern. If the price is reducing, we tend to purchase more vegetable, eat more vegetable, and try to compensate with some other eatables. See, for example, tomato or onion. If the price of the tomato has reduced, instead of purchasing 2 kgs of tomato, I may purchase a 4 kgs of tomato and consume more tomato in the form of juice or soup or in some other terms. Similarly, onion. Instead of putting one onion for say breakfast or some other food, I may use 2 onions. But it will not increase too much, but it will increase for sure. But that's why we normally term it as unit elasticity. Similarly, when the price increases, the demand will not come to zero. Demand will be there because we cannot prepare, or we do not tend to prepare food without onion or without tomato. We tend to continue to consume, but at a lower level. Instead of 1 kg, I may reduce it to say 3/4 or half kg, but I continue to consume it. I never say I am not going to consume it. That is the normal human tendency or consumer's tendency. So in that case, what happens? The price has decreased, demand has also come down almost at the same rate. These are the three conditions of elasticity of demand. Types of demand elasticity, what are they? Price elasticity of demand. This is the measure of responsiveness of the demand for a product with respect to the change in its price. So the demand may increase or decrease based on various factors. First factor is the price. So if the price reduces, demand increases. If the price increases, demand reduces. That is termed as price elasticity of demand. Second one is income elasticity of demand. This is another wonderful example of elasticity of demand. See, for example, this type of elasticity of demand is normally seen for, say, electronic goods, automobile products. There we see income elasticity of demand. Normally, income elasticity of demand is not seen to a greater extent with respect to day-to-day products. Normally what we term it as FMCG, fast moving consumer goods, paste, brush, vegetables, fruits, they're all normal, required for every human being. Normally income elasticity will, or income will not affect the elasticity of demand of such products. Whereas price will definitely affect the demand of FMCG, whereas income will affect the demand of automobile products, electronics products, infrastructure or land, building. These examples will have a greater impact with respect to income. If the income increases, income for a person increases, instead of spending more on the vegetables, it's common sense, how much we can spend on vegetables, cereals and food grains. There is a limit. Even after spending more, we will be left with more money as our income has increased two folds or three folds. Then we tend to invest it on costlier items like electronics goods, say washing machines, TV. If we are having a 21-inch TV, we may tend to go for a 32-inch TV or even higher, say 43-inch TV. If we have a semi-automatic washing machine, we tend to go for a fully automatic washing machine. If I have a 5-seater small car, I would like to go for a better sedan or better SUV or even 7-seater vehicle. This is this happens when income increases or decreases, or at the same time if the income has come down, especially during this pandemic time, COVID time. What I may say is that instead of, okay, let me hold back my requirement of a car, if I wanted to purchase a better version of a car, I may hold back because I am not sure about income. There is no increase in the income has become stagnant, so let me not invest any more further. So that would be the thing. The third factor is cross elasticity of demand. This is a measure of responsiveness of the demand for a product with respect to the change in the price of another related products. See, normally what happens, all costlier items will fall into this category again. See, for example, instead of purchasing, if I wanted to purchase a, say, 3-bedroom house and a car and so many furnitures, now I may decide, should I purchase a house or should I go with furnitures or should I go with a costly car. So the price of, if the price of a house is increasing, then I may hold back investment on the furnitures, because house is more important for me than furnitures and car. So if I have already have one set of furnitures and the furnitures is increasing to a greater extent, then I will, instead of changing the furnitures, I may prefer to go with car, because car has become more important for me, because maybe that my family size is increasing. I may prefer a better, more comfortable car than the furnitures. So these are the examples wherein price of one commodity or one product may have its impact on the price of the related products. Promotional elasticity of demand. This is the last type of demand elasticity, wherein the responsiveness of a demand for a product with respect to the change in advertisement budget of the product. Normally, people invest in advertisements because it gives them money back, it pays them off. If the advertisements did not pay them off, they wouldn't have invested millions of rupees on advertisements. They wouldn't have hired cine stars, superstars to advertise their products. As a result, what will happen? Demand for a product may increase or may not find any demand, just for the reason the advertisement is more on TV. More we tend to see the advertisements, if it keeps on coming, if it is aired continuously, the normal human tendency is that, okay, let me try once. That advertisement is being aired continuously, let me try once. Okay, so this is another factor of promotional elasticity of demand. In addition to these four, there is a fifth elasticity of demand nowadays, that is national pride, what I term it as national pride elasticity of demand. What is that national price elasticity of demand, which is not seen in any of the textbooks? It is not seen in any of the textbooks. It is present and it is becoming predominant nowadays. Let me take the example of our own Indian economy and Indian system. Just because of some trouble from our neighboring countries, we are going through such a phase of demand that Atmanirbhar Bharat. We tend to purchase more of Indian origin company. Normally, we never used to see whether this product belongs to this country X or Y or Z. Now, human tendency is that it is increasing. I'm not telling that 100% it is increasing that. Let me just check whether this product belongs to this country. If it belongs to this country, okay, let me push it back because that country is troubling me a lot. Let me not uh, think of purchasing that product and make that country rich. Let me make my own country rich. Even if I have to spend 1 or 2 rupees more, okay, let me purchase the produce of my country, so that let my country become richer. My income, let me spend it on my country. This kind of this is what I term it as national pride elasticity of demand. This is a new kind of elasticity of demand which has crept in and not seen in any of the textbooks. Now we will come to elasticity of supply. What is that elasticity of supply? Same thing as that of the elasticity of demand, wherein the elasticity of supply is the supply of is the measure of susceptibility of supply due to the variation in the price of commodities. Same aspect, everything only change is that percentage change in the quantity supplied to the percentage change in the price. The only difference is that this factor supply. Till now whatever we discussed, they were all with respect to demand. Now everything happens with respect to supply. All these factors what we discussed till now holds good here as well. For example, see, EP could be more than 1. That means supply may increase more with small change in the price. Again, gold will come into picture here. The gold merchants will pump in more and more gold to their business as the price has come down and the demand is tend to increase, or it may come down. Even if you reduce the price by too much, demand may not pick up. As a result, supply may not pick up. So for example, again the example of automobile will come into picture here. And the third thing, the it is unit elasticity. And same thing, supply may not pick up as the demand is still not very high, and it's on the even, it's on a balanced note. And it happens, that's normally with vegetables. Okay, uh, factors influencing demand and supply, all these factors: income of the people, prices of related products, tastes of the customer, supplying influencing supply, cost of the inputs, technology, climate. Let me just analyze all these factors and try to relate with one another. Income we have already discussed, because as the income increases, demand increases, especially for costly items. That is what we term it as income elasticity of demand and supply. Prices of related goods, that's what we term it as related goods elasticity of demand and supply. Tastes of the customer, that's what I was just explaining about the national pride. That is almost related to this taste. All of a sudden my tasting changes. I do not want to uh, prefer a foreign product. My taste has changed to Indian product. Taste here doesn't mean the taste related to tongue. It is related to my wish, a customer's wish, willingness to spend his money on a product. Why I like that product? It is the liking of a product. Here the taste means liking of a product by the customer. All of a sudden my liking has shifted from foreign products to my indigenous products. All of a sudden that affects the demand and supply curve, right? And I wanted to my taste was on say formal dressing. All of a sudden my national leader wears some say kurta or jacket or something like that, and all of a sudden I will change my uh, likingness from formal dress, say blazer, to kurta and jacket. That may happen. So, and my superstar, say cricket, I'm a cricket fan, and my superstar uh, wears this kind of dress. Let me wear that. This taste has shifted from A to B. A national leader can influence the demand of a product. Factors influencing supply: cost of the inputs, technology has changed all of a sudden. Cost of the input, the raw materials cost has changed all of a sudden. I do not want to spend more on the raw materials and compromise with my profit. I will reduce the supply, I will reduce the manufacturing itself, so that supply will the demand will remain as it is, so that I can continue to supply at the same rate without compromising on my profit. I cannot increase the price just for the reason raw materials price has increased. It cannot happen. In that case, what do? I restrict the supply itself, so that I am spending less, earning at the same rate. This is how it happens. The climate especially for agricultural products, all of a sudden it could be drought or it could be flood. Today being September 2020, till a week ago we were hoping for a wonderful monsoon and everything was great, but now all of a sudden, because of continued rains, the agricultural produce is getting affected. And now we are afraid that is it possible, even if we can produce the same amount what we had produced last year, that would be great. And we had seen over a period of time that especially in this month that the more agricultural land is being utilized for agricultural produce, but this floods, we don't know what may happen. So weather will also have some effect on supply. Finally, price of related goods, that's what we have already said, that will affect both demand and supply. So this is the curve wherein I have to hit the equilibrium of, I have to make a balance of supply as well as demand. This is what is necessary for me. Now we will discuss about law of returns. What is this law of returns? The first law of returns is law of increasing return. Law of increasing return in the sense the output would be higher for an input. If the input increases by 1%, the output increases by 2%. In other words, I invest 1 rupee and I get 2 rupees back. This is defined like this. It is the increase in the marginal output of a production process as the amount of single factor of production is increased, while the amounts of all other factors of production stay constant. And one point we need to remember very clearly. What is important here is that I need to keep all other factors the same, and I have to compare between input and output. So that is the rule of management. Compare cat with cat and rat with rat, and don't compare cat and rat and say that cat is stronger than rat. It's quite obvious. That's not permitted in management. Okay, here this particular graph, it's very clear. What I can see here, see there is this much of increase in the capital investment. Look at the returns. This is more. Why it is happening so? Because for every unit of income, I mean to say input, there is higher return. This is termed as law of increasing returns. Is law of decreasing return. What is this law of decreasing return? This is just opposite to that of law of increasing return. See, for every uh, input I am increasing, the returns goes on reducing. One best example I can give you is that of, see, I work out in a hot sun, come back. Immediately what do I need? I need a glass of water. When I drink the first glass of water, I may demand one more glass of water. But the level of satisfaction what I get from the second glass by drinking the second glass of water is certainly lesser when compared to the satisfaction that I got from the first glass of water. The returns goes on decreasing, even though the income is same, or even the income may increase, but the returns goes on reducing. I may keep on pumping in money, but the return I may not be getting. Forget about the same return, the returns may go on decreasing. That is termed as law of decreasing returns. Many times it happens because I am pumping in money, investing, coming up with more and more product, new year and new year product, but the demand is not at all there. If the demand is not at all there, however much you invest, however much you produce, your returns will go on decreasing. That is the law of decreasing returns. The last law is law of constant returns. What is that? The total output may increase proportionately. That means the marginal output of a production process remains constant. That means it neither increases nor decreases. 1% investment, 1% return. It's how it appears. A 45-degree line, linear increase. So 1% increase, 1% return. So this is the law of constant return. The next topic is engineering and economic efficiency. What is the difference between engineering efficiency and economic efficiency? It's very clear. Okay. Normally what happens, engineering is primarily a producer activity that comes into being satisfy human wants, and its objective is to get the greatest end result per unit of resource expenditure. This is nothing but maximization of engineering efficiency, and it may be stated as simple output by input. And can it be 100% ever? Answer is no. It is always less than 100% because of there are engineering energy losses, efficiency losses. Many factors will come into picture. As a result, efficiency will never be 100%. It is always less than 100%. What about economic efficiency? Economic efficiency is expressed in terms of economic units of output to economic units of input. Efficiency is always output by input. In engineering efficiency, we discussed about the input in terms of resources, output in terms of products. Whereas in economic efficiency, we express it in terms of economic units of output to economic units of inputs, stated as worth by cost. How do we measure output in terms of economic efficiency? In terms of worth. How do we measure the input in terms of cost? Okay, I invest 1 rupee what is the worth I get. Is it worth 2 rupees? Is it worth 50 paise? Is it worth 100 rupees? So in that way, economic efficiency is measured. As a result, what is the beauty of this economic efficiency? It can exceed 100%. It is not just can exceed 100%, it is expected that economic efficiency is always more than 100%. If it is less than 100%, that means I invest 1 rupee and I get only worth of 50 paise or less than 1 rupee, I am on loss. I am under loss. So I should never think of that. I should always be in multifolds. I invest 1 rupee, I should get 2 rupees, 3 rupees worth outcome. So this is what is necessary for an economic efficiency. So in this session we discussed about the law of demand and supply, law of returns, and elasticity of demand and supply, and economic and engineering efficiency. So to sum up the entire session, I would like to say that as the demand increases, uh, people tend to purchase more, and as they purchase more and more, supply may be pumped in, or supply may decrease depending on how much or the capacity the supplier can supply. So that's why we say that as the price increases, demand decreases and supply increases. They are vice versa. They are inversely related to each other, and many factors which will decide about the supply and demand: law of returns, three laws of returns, and finally efficiency. Economic efficiency could be more than 100%, whereas engineering efficiency will always be less than 100%. Thank you.